Hey everyone, it's Ryan. This is going to be a new kind of video. We're going to be talking about different war timings. As per a vote I had on my YouTube community, if you're interested in voting what I kind of talk about next, check that out, or join my Discord. But I kind of thought of a cool idea where we would talk about each timing, and there was a really good recommendation to talk about them in order at which they occur. So I thought it'd be most fitting to talk about chariots first. A personal favorite of mine. I love this attack. If you know like the history of how I kind of got good in NQ, I had so many reps doing chariot attacks, and that's how I learned to, you know, flip cities well and convert early kills into wins, is through chariot attacks. So I think it's a really great way to learn the game, but it's not something you can do every game. The beginning stuff I'm going to be talking about in every video is what timing is it. So this timing is very early. It's the earliest realistic timing you should have. There's some exceptions such as archer attacks if you're Babylon, or combo attacks if you're Shoshone. But we're not really going to be talking about those. This is primarily going to be about chariots. Now, I will say this is not a Civ-specific thing. Though there are chariot Civs, they're not necessarily always looking to do this. But it is something you have to worry about. So what is the timing? The timing is turn 35 to 45. Typically, it starts. So that means on a very fast chariot attack, your city is getting damaged by turn 35. Okay? The latest I'd say a chariot attack could start is 45. Otherwise, it becomes like a classical war type attack. This is predominantly like your army composition is chariots and scouts and maybe a spear, like one or two spears. For the most part, it's just chariots. So let's talk about, and then the policy tree is always liberty. You can't really chariot on anything else. Otherwise, you're just going to do classical war or like standard classical war, because you're not going to be fast enough. Liberty is the only tree that's fast enough to pull these attacks off. Typically, the way it works is your liberty, you see you don't have a lot of land. You see a neighbor really close to you, and the land is really flat in between. That's a chariot. That's a chariot angle for sure. In this case, you'd plant 3 to 4 cities. So you're on 4 or 5 city liberty, and you're starting unit production the second those cities come down. Oftentimes you'll go a couple workers, but other than those workers, you're just building units. The goal of the chariot attack is to completely kill your opponent, and mostly to inherit their land. Not necessarily the cities and the buildings, but the land, because maybe you don't have a lot, or maybe it's just advantageous for the game state, or whatever it might be. All right, so this is like a quick overview of chariots. I'm going to talk about the cool stuff now. I'm going to have this for every timing. It's going to be the 3 things that I consider the most important when determining an attack. So let's talk about the first thing, which would be the threat level. So the threat level, and we're going to say this is a 9 out of 10. This is out of 10, what do we want to rank it? So the threat level for chariots, I'm gonna put as maybe a 5 out of 10, because chariots are a very, 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 very scary attack, but it's not something that can happen every game. In fact, most games you don't even have to think about this. Most games the land determines so much that the threat level isn't there. But if the land is very favorable, it is a very, very high threat level, and it's extremely lethal. So I'm going to leave it at 5 out of 10, because in some games it's a 0 out of 10, in others it's a 9 out of 10. So I think 5 is a good middle ground. Detection. This is going to be a category where we talk about how easily it is detectable from a general sense. So how easy is chariots able to be detected? In my opinion, I'd say pretty fucking easy. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 in terms of detection. Um, I think. Actually, no. We should make this like as the attacker. So maybe like a 2 out of 10. I think they are very easy to figure out what's going on. If you're seeing a Liberty player that stops settling by turn 20 or like by turn 25, right? Because usually by 25 they have four settlers out or 5 settlers out. You know something's up, right? The other main thing is you can check horse count. And this is the main giveaway. Horse count in Lek mod, horses are always even numbers of nodes. So as long as you, and plus you're presumably very close to this player, you're going to see their land. You're going to see what horses they've improved. In that case, you can kind of see, okay, I see they have 6 horses in cap, but they're only showing 4. Just because it's an even number, that doesn't mean like, oh, nothing to worry about. That means they're probably queuing 2 chariots. So as soon as you see that, as soon as you see that the land is like that, and you check their horse count, it's odd, or it's not what the nodes say, or whatever it is, your alarm bell should be going off. From an all-in perspective, on a scale from 1 to 10, how all-in is this play? This is as high as it fucking goes. In the whole game, nothing is as all-in as a chariot attack. There is no alternative if you're the person charioting. If you are the person defending, your game is instantly over. If you're the person attacking, your game is instantly dependent on this attack working. Chariots are a great way to scrap a game in Lek, but they're also a great way to look like a fucking idiot. It's a very balanced, it's a big balancing act, and making sure you're actually successful is the most important thing. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is practicing your early game, having very strong sim, having favorable land that's fast, and having enough workers to make it work. Is it stoppable? So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being it's impossible to stop, this is going to fall in a 3. There is some situations where chariots are, and this stoppable means if you know it's coming. If you don't know an attack is coming, it's always impossible to stop, okay? So if you know it's coming, it's fairly easy to stop this attack, or at least bring the guy down with you. There are some exceptions, and a lot of it is very land dependent. If your victim is playing Piety in a slow land, there's nothing they could do. They're always dead. Quite literally. Sometimes you just die, right? Now, other times, if your land is also strong, you see they're going chariots maybe 5 turns ahead, you queue a couple spearmen, threat is instantly gone, and you have nothing to worry about. The attack's not going to work. You're going to stall out. The game's going to end. Why is that? Chariots are incredibly strong when they're not attacking spearmen. But when you are attacking spearmen, a spearman with a flanking bonus can one-shot a chariot. So these are the most glass cannon-esque units in the game. Even more glass cannon than something like a catapult, because the most threatening and most powerful unit in the classical and ancient era is the spearmen. And because spearmen are so strong, chariot attacking is very hard, and it's a noob trap for sure, because if you try to chariot someone and they see it coming, you just instantly lose. And then you made yourself irrelevant trying to do it. Because think about it. Instead of queuing granaries and monuments and watermills, you're queuing units that have no purpose. And you know what I mean? So it's a very slippery slope if you start failing a chariot attack. Is it land dependent? Again, this is definitionally the most land-dependent attack in the game, and you're gonna see a trend as we progress later on. This number is gonna go further and further down, which, in my opinion, is good balance. Chariot attacking. I'm gonna explain this in the next little segment as I show a possible good example of what a chariot attack could look like. So land dependent, this is extremely important. You understand this. You're not going to have aqueduct tech. You're not going to have engineering. So you can't cross rivers with roads. So you can't get stopped by rivers. Chariots, unless you're using specific chariots, namely horse archers, chariots stop on hills. So you can't, if it's super hilly, a chariot attack's going to fail unless you have incredible fast roads and a road system and stuff like that. But realistically, if you're going chariots, you're not doing pyramids. So just something to consider. So it needs to be flat. It needs to have no rivers for the most part. And you need to have a lot of shots on the city. Difficulty. I'm going to put this at maybe a 6 out of 10. I think it is a hard attack. Actually, I'm gonna raise that. I'm gonna put it at an 8 out of 10. And the reason why I'll explain in a second. The war itself for a chariot is very, 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 very straightforward. You build chariots, you attack someone, and the ideal is you're attacking someone who is building a granary or is still building settlers or doesn't have any fucking workers, 0 tiles improved, etc. The type of person that if you attack them, they're going to go unhappy. So the war itself should be pretty straightforward. You obviously have to worry about spears. You have to play around your chariots right. You have to play around vision properly. You have to... the detection part is interesting because something like Egypt makes this very, very easy to avoid. And detection is actually quite hard for Egypt. But for difficulty here, I'm going to say 8 out of 10 because simming out of a chariot attack is super fucking hard. You're not going to have honor. You're still going to be pushing through liberty. And then you just slowed your infrastructure tremendously to kill someone who also doesn't have any infrastructure. So you're inheriting maybe like, let's say you kill a liberty player, or let's say you kill a tradition player. You planted 5 cities, you kill the tradition player's 4 cities. At the very best, you're going to steal a granary from like 2 cities. So you gave up the ability to build infrastructure for the most part. Obviously, you're going to have like 1 or 2 granaries. You're going to have like a monument. You're going to have some workers. Your tiles are going to be pretty much improved. But their tiles are going to be not very improved. Remember, you're playing Liberty, so your start is going to be faster than theirs. They're playing like Tradition or Piety or something, typically something slow. I mean, you can chariot Liberty players that aren't expecting it, but you better be sure that it's going to fucking work. Because as soon as you hit any resistance, it fails. So 8 out of 10 in difficulty because the way you sim out of it is very, very difficult. We've seen really strong players not be able to sim out of chariots particularly well. But more so than this, it's if you're not comfortable playing from behind or you're not comfortable flipping cities that aren't yours without honor, this is a very, very difficult thing to learn. And the only way you're going to get better is watching people who are good at it or doing it a lot and learning from your own mistakes. So I'm going to put it at 8 out of 10 for that reason. A lot of the best players in the game love chariots. It's not like I said, it's not a common attack. That's why the threat level is 5 out of 6. But when it is there, it is terrifying. And I'm going to show you right here. This is a perfect game to talk about chariots. So let's say we're Mecca. Let's not talk about how shit this guy's land is. I'm going to pull up Epic Pen real quick. All right. So let's say we're Huns. This guy, if you are a good Rye viewer, you'll see that it has 2 potential cities. You have one like down here, and then you have another one up here. I think I would probably, I mean, you could settle this. This looks like fine, but up here obviously has more food. It only has 1 Lux, but your Tradition here or Piety here, so you're going to grow. You're going to give up this Jade likely. You probably settled this city, right? If you're Mecca, you're going to settle one here. And then maybe if you want 4, you settle, I don't even know if you'd settle this. Maybe you settle this. Something like this, right? Okay. Let's say we're Huns though. right? This is probably ours. So we're going to take that. I want to settle on this cotton. I'm going to put one back here, maybe for this stuff over here, and then like one up here. So we're going to have 5 cities. The whole goal is these cities are going to be put down first to set boundaries. I want to be min distance from this guy. I want to be as close as possible to this guy. I want that as soon as my units spawn, they're attacking his city. And that I can build roads towards him, essentially, and not be aggressive. Or not be super aggressive. So, these cities are going to be last. They're really not going to contribute much, but they're more so to help your scaling. If you're really full in, you just cut this top left city, and you, so you're not going to settle up here, so you're going to go one here, you know, the same one like over here, one here. He's going to do this kind of thing. Our goal is we're going to attack him by turn 45. That means this is going to be chopped because he has to chop his Lux tile, which means if he settles this city like right here, I can shoot him from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. Only one of which is actually on a hill, which means I can get 5 or I can get 4 shots in on the turn I declare, which means on a 10 health city, right? Or an 11 health city, and I can demonstrate this for a second, that this dies in 2 turns. A scout comes in, pops him. Next guy. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a hill. So 6, 7. 7 insta shots. I can put another one here. I only need 6 chariots or 7 chariots to make this attack work. I'm going to have some like backup units, maybe 1 or 2 spears, but realistically, the goal should be that his city can build a wall in 3 or 4 turns. It should be very, very minimal infrastructure in his city. Like the pop should be pretty low, and you should just be blowing the shit right open. So this city's pumping units, this city is pumping units, your cap's pumping units, and then this city is going to pump 1 or 2 units. Realistically, this should be instant victory. All right, so what does this look like from a different perspective? If I spawn in a chariot, let's just like pretend like we killed him already. We killed that first city already. Chariot. So he's got a warrior in here. So I'm gonna kill that real quick. Cities and units. Delete. All right. Oh, I don't have horses, so let me just improve that real quick. Terrain. Where's it called? It is called a... Help me out here, game. What is this shit called? Okay, I can just put manufacturing on it. Oh, whoops. Manufacturing. Okay. So, back to what we were doing. 1, 2, 3. It's already fucking yellow. Usually you have 5 chariots shooting in an ideal world. 4 or 5. Thing is dead next turn. This is why chariots are scary. If he has no units and he's not expecting it, you get popped in 2 turns. This is the real power of what chariots can accomplish, is they're able to instantly pop cities if they are not prepared. How do you stop this? Okay, let me show you. I'm going to spawn in a player. Let's play as... Oh, I can't. Can I? Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Wait, what? Spearman. All right. So how much does this do? We're doing Oh, we're doing less damage to a spear than we would a city. Okay? Because it has a 50% bonus versus mounted ranged units. So that means our attacks are doing 50% less just because that's just what's favored. So let me spawn in, again, let me spawn in a chariot and I'll show you kind of how much we can do with the spear. All right. So if we take a spear. All right. He doesn't have horses. God damn it. All right. Let's fix that real quick. Terrain, manufactory. I want to make this as illustrative as possible. All right. With one set of flanking, we are doing 82 and taking 8. Or 9. This is why chariots are super, super bad into spears. You build 2 or 3 spears, they can't push you with chariots. They can push you with comps. They can't push you with chariots. So hopefully this was helpful. Here's my score, my scoring again, in case you are curious. Let me know if you have any questions. But in the next one, we are going to cover the classic junk attack. Thanks, guys.